Okay, so welcome everybody to our 100-day writing challenge. I am so glad to see you guys all made it here. Getting lots of different things in the chat about how we're feeling about this challenge. Excited. I am excited. I'm nervous. I'm also going to try and take part in the challenge. Whether I succeed or not is a different story. Okay, so just a quick intro about today's session. So we're just going to do two things really. One is to the first thing is just to build excitement and to get you guys all kind of vamped and ready to get started with this challenge. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to set expectations for the session and the challenge. We are going to kind of go through setting our times, our goals, expectations, kind of how we can set ourselves up for the challenge and get ourselves ready for it so that it can be, so that we can perform the best that we can. And then the second part of the chat of the session, rather, we will be looking at how to use Mighty Networks, which is the platform that we use for our membership. So how we're going to be using that to help us along with the challenge. So obviously for today, you can put in the chat if you've got any questions or things like that. And then we will answer questions as we go along. But if you're watching us from the future and you're watching the recording, then you can just pop a question in Mighty Networks. So we're going to get started. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to be looking at, let me just get the screen ready, is goal setting. So what would make these 100 days a success for you? So what do you want to have achieved after the 100 days? So I'm going to give you guys a second. You can either write your answer in the chat or you can just write your answer on a piece of paper for yourself, but you can feel free to share it as well. So after these 100 days, so we're starting today in January and we will be ending in May. How do you want these 100 days to go? Like, how do you want to feel afterwards? So it could be, for example, you might want to say that after the 100 days, you want to have completed, let's say, like 20,000 words. Or you want to have had completed 2 chapters or 3 chapters or 4 chapters, or you want to have drafted, an entire manuscript, which is definitely doable in those 100 days. Or it could just be something like, I want to have written for 100 days, or I want to have started feeling like a writer again, or something, that's very simple. I just want to see if this is something that I can do. So everybody is on a different journey. For some people, this might be something that's very specific on a project that you're working on. For other people, it might just be that you want to feel a certain way for this challenge. So I just want you to take a couple of seconds. And like I said, you can share it in the chat and think about what is it that you want to have achieved after these 100 days. Got somebody in the chat here, accomplished, drafted, remaining chapters. Yeah. So if you're working on a specific project, I would definitely encourage you to think about specific things that you can do. We've got another one here, want to finally finish my first draft, carving out the time daily to write for an hour, which we will be going through as well. So what is it that you want to achieve after these 100 days? It's a long time. So between now and May, so many different things can happen. So don't be afraid to be very ambitious with what it is that you want to achieve. Yeah? Some more coming through here. Fill gaps. Finish a third draft. A third draft. That's amazing. Oh my God, that is so good. To write daily and create an outline for my novel. I love this. This is very specific. Okay. Fill in the gaps in the sequence of the manuscript. Wonderful. So many things are coming up. So when we're creating goals for writing goals, I think that the more specific you are, the better you set yourself up for success. You want to, I don't know if people know about the SMART goals. So you want something that's specific, something that's measurable, something that's achievable, relevant, and time bound. So again, thinking about we've got 100 days, what can you achieve in those 100 days? And the more specific you are, you can kind of target it a bit more and make sure that you're successful. We want to set ourselves up for success in the next 100 days. So yeah, be as specific as you can. Okay. Some more things coming up here. Type up all handwritten extracts. Complete 10 character profiles with introduction extract. I love this. This is the type of stuff that we want. Specific goals, right? The more specific you are, I think the better you will be at achieving your goals. Okay. So the next thing that we're going to be looking at, again, if you've got any questions or anything like that, feel free to put your hand up or put something in the chat. Okay, so the next thing you want to be looking at is scheduling your writing time. Okay, so just a few things to remember when we're talking about writing and making time, carving out time for your writing. So one thing that I like to tell people is to think about your creative time versus your productive time. So for me, for example, when I am writing, my most creative time is in the evenings. It is after 6 o'clock, after 7 o'clock, um, 8, 9, towards bed. This is when I come up with all of my ideas. This is when I kind of work through any kind of issues that I have with plots, characters, etc., etc. That is my most creative time, but it is not my most productive time. My most productive time is in the mornings. So getting up before my day starts. If I'm working on a project, I will get up before I start my day, before I start checking emails, before I have anything to do. That is my most productive time, right? So creative time is when the creative juices are flowing, when you've got ideas coming in, but that might not be your kind of optimal time for writing, right? So my creative time is at night, but my productive time is during the day, in the morning, before anything else has started, right? So for me, if I were to create a writing schedule, I would definitely do it around my most productive time, because I know that in the mornings when I get up and write, there's no distractions. My phone hasn't come on, Instagram hasn't come on. I haven't found out who's become the president of the United States yet. So I will go for that time. So when it comes to you and your writing journey and yourself, you know yourself best. So I want you to think about, when is your most creative time and when is your most productive time, and identify some free pockets in the day. Okay, so this is easier to do if you have a kind of very structured day. So if you work specific hours, if you have to pick up the kids from school at a specific time, if you have to be online or at your desk at a specific time, this is actually easier to do if you have that kind of structure in place. So think about, when do you have free pockets in the day? Is it in the mornings before everybody else is up, if you've got to drop the kids off at school? Is it at lunchtime when you have kind of like an hour to yourself and you can fit in some writing there? Or is it afterwards when you finish work, when everybody's gone to sleep and you kind of have, the house to yourself, you've got a little bit of downtime, a little of peace? Is that the time that you're going to be the most productive when you're writing, right? So think about that. Take a few moments just to think about when you have these free pockets of time. And I would say you kind of want to start small and then build up. It's kind of like when you're going to the gym. If you haven't been to the gym in a long time, you're not going to go to the gym and do a full 2 hour workout. Like, that's just not going to happen. But you can go and do like a 15, 20-minute quick workout, and then kind of increase that as you go along, right? So if you haven't been writing for a long time, or if it's been a while since you picked up a writing project, you just want to start yourself off with very quick, easy, achievable goals, like 15 minutes a day of writing, at the same time every day. Is it going to be at lunchtime? Is it going to be in the mornings? Is it going to be in the afternoon, the evenings? You just want to pick something that's very easy and very quick for you to do. You don't want to set yourself up for failure by saying you're going to write for 2 hours in the middle of the day, when you haven't been writing for a long time, because you're not going to get a lot done in those 2 hours. Or maybe you might, but I would definitely recommend just starting with 15 minutes a day. Okay. So hopefully you've taken some time and thought about these pockets, these writing times. So what I want you to do is, again, you can put this in the chat just for some extra accountability. When will your writing time be? So schedule your writing time. Let's just start with the first week. So officially our 100-day challenge starts tomorrow. So tomorrow is Wednesday. Think about your week, think about your day, and I want you to jot down when your writing time is going to be for the rest of this week. And then what you want to do is to adjust as you go along. So just because you've made this plan, doesn't mean that you have to stick with it if it's not working out for you. So for example, if you say that I'm going to wake up every day at 6 a.m. and write for 15 minutes, if that's not working out by the end of the first week, you want to see what's happening, what's stopping you from getting up at that time, or what's stopping you from writing at that time. And you kind of want to adjust. Maybe 6 a.m. is too early for you to start. So maybe you do an hour afterwards, maybe 2 hours afterwards, or you just try a completely different time of day. Yeah. And then two things, again, to help you is one, to treat your writing time as a non-negotiable appointment. So treat this like something that you have to do. So treat this like a doctor's appointment. Treat this like something that you've paid, like £150 for. Um, if you do it like this, and you're more likely to turn up for it. So if you have it blocked out in your calendar and you know that this is something that you're prioritizing, you're more likely to turn up, right? So let's see some in the chat. So somebody do half an hour at 7 p.m. during the weekdays and early mornings on the weekends. I love this. So now you know exactly what your schedule is going to be like in the weekday and on the weekend. So you've got different schedules for both, which is actually great because I usually tend to not write on the weekends, just because I do so much writing during the week. I like to have the weekends off just to rest a little bit. We've got another one. My writing time is in the morning, 7:30 a.m. for an hour at least. I love this. I will do 5 a.m. in the mornings. Good luck. Good luck. Good luck. Those early morning writing sessions are not easy, especially in the winter time when you wake up and it's still completely like dark outside. So good luck with that. I hope that it works out and well done. That sounds amazing. Okay. So 15 minutes in the morning between 9 and 9:30 before work. That sounds really good, really doable. 6 to 6:30 a.m. weekdays or 7 till 8 p.m. evenings, weekends 9 a.m. Fantastic. If anybody else wants to go ahead and put in the chat what their writing schedules are for the week. The other thing that you can do as well is add this to your calendar. So I am a calendar person. If it's not on my calendar, it's not going to happen. It doesn't exist to me. So you can add this to your calendar so that you can make sure that it happens. You can set an alarm for it. I have a different alarm to my normal wake up alarm. I have a different alarm for my writing alarm so that I know, that's my writing alarm. I need to start writing. Okay, another one, I'm going to say 3 p.m. daily, but might adjust if that doesn't feel right, which is exactly what you should be doing. If something doesn't feel right or if it's not working, definitely go ahead and adjust it. Like there's absolutely nothing wrong with that at all. And then last one, I'm going to try 6:30 a.m. for 30 minutes. Wonderful. So we've got lots of morning ones here. And like I say, go for it for the first days, the first week, etc., etc. If it doesn't work, I would definitely encourage you to try something else. But the most important thing is to try and set your alarm for 15 minutes. So again, if you're new to writing or if you've not been writing for a long time, I would set, a timer for 15 minutes for these writing sessions that you're going to have every day. So by the end of the 15 minutes, you know that, okay, 15 minutes is up. And then that's it. I've just got this small amount of time to write in. Yeah, the small window. Okay. Overcoming obstacles. There are so many obstacles that we will face when writing because there are so many different things that can stop us from achieving our goals. Some of the ones I've got here: self-doubt, procrastination, writer's block. Any more that people think might come up as an obstacle, just put it in the chat. Self-doubt, self-confidence, thinking that you can't do it. These are all things that are very, very common. But what else do you think will stop you personally from being able to achieve your 100 days of writing goals? Just pop it in the chat, if anything. Procrastination, yep. Massive one, procrastination. Life, yes. Life will be lifing. Life will be lifing. The subject matter. That is actually a very big one, Colnice. And that's one I think that we don't often talk about, like the actual subject matter being heavy, that's a very, very big one. I remember when I was writing the novel that's out now, there was something there was a theme there which we actually took out in the last edit, but it was so heavy writing it, and I used to hate writing those scenes. I'm so glad we took it out. But yeah, definitely having a subject matter that's quite traumatic and writing about that can definitely be an obstacle. Anything else? Procrastination, not a great starter or finisher, but I'm here to gain that consistency by showing up consistently. Yeah, exactly. That's all we can do. Like all we can do is show up, show up, show up, show up, show up. Discipline, massive one. Discipline, discipline, discipline. That is such a big one. Yep, that is such a big one. Okay, so some of the ways that we can overcome these obstacles, and if you've been to a rewrite session, if you've been to a rewrite retreat, if you've been to any workshops that I've done in the past, you would have heard some of these terms before. So pre-writing is your friend. Pre-writing is something that I talk about a lot because this will save you so much time and will help you overcome these obstacles when you're writing. So if you're unfamiliar with pre-writing, it's a very general term for any preparation that you do before you start to write. So for example, if your writing window is 6:30 a.m. every day, your pre-writing would be done, for example, the day before. So if you're starting at 6 a.m. and you're writing for 15 minutes, rather than you kind of just turning up for 15 minutes and spending maybe the first 5 minutes, the first 10 minutes kind of thinking, what am I going to write? What am I doing on the screen? It's 6:30 in the morning. Like, why am I here? What you would do, for example, as a pre-write is the night before you would think about what you're going to write during those 15 minutes. So for example, if you are writing a scene, let's just say like a cute meet, for example, if you're writing a romance and you're writing the cute meet, the first chapter, the inciting incident, your pre-write for the night before might be just to have a quick summary of what happens in the scene. So for example, I don't know, Moesha meeting, I don't know why I'm using this example. Moesha goes to school one day and she meets Q, who is dropping off his little brother there or something, and they meet by the lockers, right? So that would be your pre-write. So the night before, you would do that kind of small summary to say, this is what I'm going to be writing tomorrow morning. This is a quick sketch of the scene, and you can make this pre-write as elaborate as you want to, or as minimal as you want to. Sometimes it's just one word, sometimes it's a whole paragraph. And by having something already in place when you start at 6:30 a.m. in the morning, at 6:30 the next day, you will use those 15 minutes just to do your writing rather than to think about what it is that you're going to write. So it just saves you time and it saves you having to think about, doing mental gymnastics about how am I going to do this? Is the writing going to be good enough? All of that kind of self-doubt that you have kind of goes away because you already know that you're working on something. And also it means that you don't start with a blank page. So I always give the example of I never ever write with a blank page. I never wake up to a blank page. Even if I'm starting a brand new scene, a brand new chapter, I will have my pre-write on the page before I start writing. And so that gives me something to focus on. If you're not working on a specific project, it might just be that you have a prompt already. You have a prompt that you're going to be using. And we're going to talk about this in the second part when we talk about Mighty Networks. But pre-writing just helps you gain that extra bit of confidence because you know what you're doing on the page already. It's kind of like if you're going to the gym and you already have your routine ready, right? You already know you're going to do 15 minutes on the treadmill, you're going to do 15 minutes floor work, and then you're going to end with some stretches, right? The other thing about pre-writing as well is that just because you've said that you're going to do this, it doesn't mean that you're going to stick to it. So for example, you said that you're going to sit down and write the inciting incident, the cute meet of how Moesha meets Q. But if you then sit down and you have another idea, it is perfectly okay to go with that as well. The pre-writing is just like a map to get you started. Yeah. So if you've got any questions or anything about that, feel free to drop it in the chat. The other thing that I would say as well is to prepare your writing space. So especially if you're doing those early morning, 6 a.m., 5 a.m. ones, I would say have as much prepared as you possibly can. So you have your laptop out already, you have your pen and pan, you have your mug ready in the kitchen, you have your everything ready so that all you're doing is getting up to write. And that helps you to stop procrastinating. So instead of, okay, I'm gonna have to switch on my laptop, I'm gonna have to find my notes, I'm gonna have to find, my comfy shoes. Have everything prepared in your writing space already. Like if you have a writing playlist, have that going on already. Have your earphones out. Just make it as easy as possible. Again, I like to compare it to going to the gym. If you're going to go to the gym the next day, you already have your gym clothes out, so that when you wake up, it's already there. You're not looking for this, looking for that, and kind of wasting time. Yeah. Some other things I would say is to think long term. So even though you might not think that this is important, or even though it might seem like this is daunting, remember that this is a whole 100 days. Today is just one of 100 days. Today might not be as productive as tomorrow, or you might not get as much writing done, but it's just there's so many other days to make up for it. So if it's not going okay today, if you're feeling a little bit sluggish, that's okay. Today is just one day. Tomorrow you can start again. Yeah. Think about your why. So your why is the reason that you want to write the story. Your why is the reason why you want to get back into writing. It might just be that you are a lover of words. It might be that you love reading and you someday hope to write something yourself. Or it might be that you've had this story that you want to tell the world, you want to have published eventually. You want to be touring this, you want to see this book in bookshops. What is your why? Why are you working on this project? Why are you writing? Think about that and have that as kind of motivation. So when you're sitting down to write, you're not just thinking about, oh my God, it's 5 a.m., but you're thinking this is one of many steps to me getting to my novel published. Yeah. Another thing that I'm going to say is that getting stuck is part of the process. Writing is very frustrating, especially when you're rewriting and redrafting. There are going to be so many things that come up, scenes that don't work, characters that don't make any sense. You kind of feel yourself driving yourself a little bit crazy, thinking, should I be doing this? Is this even good enough? All of these things are all natural, okay? Everything that you feel, all of the frustrations, all of the crazy feelings, etc., etc. Can I do this? Will I ever get there? Am I ever going to be good enough? Am I even a writer? Those questions are literally part of the writing process. And I say, if you're asking yourself those questions, or if you feel that way, it's absolutely natural. Everybody goes through that. Even after you've had your first book published, even if you've had a second book published, these questions always come up. So if you see yourself, thinking about this, just remember it's natural. It's part of the writing process. Yeah. Give yourself compassion and give yourself grace. Things happen, life happens. Today, you might have had a really bad day at work, you might have had some bad news. There are so many things, that can get in the way. So just give yourself grace, give yourself compassion. Again, if it doesn't work out, if you don't manage to do it, it's absolutely fine. The sky's not going to fall. And there's always tomorrow. And then another important thing is to give yourself rewards. If you complete day one, whatever the reward looks like for you, go for it. It might be something like, okay, like I'm gonna watch an episode of my favorite show. I might, I don't know, eat some chocolate, when you're dieting or whatever it is. So just think about how you can reward yourself every time you complete something. Yeah. Write by hand. Sometimes I find that when I'm in kind of a creative strut, I like to take the computer away and just do writing by hand. So having like a piece of plain paper and a pencil and just do some free writing, like just letting the words flow on the page. Sometimes that kind of helps me unblock. And then the final thing is make it fun in any way that you can. One of the ways that I do that is I have a playlist for whatever mood I'm writing in, whatever character I'm thinking about. Have motivational quotes, have post-it notes telling yourself you're that girl, you're that person. Any way that you can make it fun, because most of the time you're just sat in your room by yourself writing, which isn't fun. So any way that you can make writing fun, I would definitely encourage you to do it. Okay. So we're going to wrap up. Do we have any questions, thoughts, or anything in the chats before we continue? Okay, and one thing that I forgot to mention is um, the Pomodoro technique, which is something that I use. So it's kind of like the 15 minutes. So you set a timer for maybe 45 minutes, I think is a good time. 45 minutes, an hour, 30 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever that time may be. And in that time, you just write. And then when it stops, you stop. So if you have difficulty getting into writing, so I would definitely recommend that. So setting your timer for a specific time, and you don't stop writing during that time at all. And then as soon as it stops, you stop. If you think that you can continue after that time, yes, Catherine is amazing for getting stuff done. For getting stuff done. If you think that you can continue, so for example, if you set a timer for 45 minutes, and then the time, ends. If you think that you can go again, you can set a timer for another 45 minutes. But this is something that I do all the time for writing, for admin, for whatever tasks that I need to do. And it just ensures that you get stuff done within that time slot. And then after that, you're okay. And it also makes sure that you're taking enough breaks. So you're not like writing for 2 hours and then wearing yourself out. And then the last chapter that you wrote doesn't make any sense. Okay. So, we are going to move on. The final thing. Okay. The final thing is, I would say, if you can, to create a mantra for yourself for these next 100 days. So this mantra can be anything that you want. The mantra I have here, Afro is here, who is part of our Costa Rica crew. Colnice is also here, was also part of our Costa Rica crew. So we came up with a mantra, one of our very beloved our very beloved retreat members, Sade, came up with this mantra, which we use throughout our entire time in Costa Rica, and that I've taken and that a lot of us have taken, outside of that. And this is like part of my writing practice. Every time now I feel like, oh my God, I'm getting stuck. Oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing. I just think back to this mantra. I'm not going to say it out loud because this is recording, but it is on the screen for you to see. So feel free to take this. And you can credit Sade Moore, who came up with this. So I'm going to give you guys a couple of minutes. You can either use this mantra yourself, or you can create another one for yourself. But this will be useful for you to think about every day. When you get stuck, when you're up at 6 a.m., what do you want to be thinking? What will help you stay motivated? So this for me really works, but for you it might be something different. So if you've got one, feel free to drop it in the chat. Okay, and then we're going to move now to, let me just come out of this, how to use Mighty Network to help you during the 100 days. So Mighty Network is our network that we use where everything takes place. So I'm just going to pull up my screen. And just a reminder that my screen will look different to yours because I am an admin person. So your screen might look different. Okay, so this is what the Mighty Network screen should look like when you start. So here you have your kind of menu where we have everything going on. If you've never seen this before, so you have the intro space. If you've not introduced yourself, please go ahead and say hello to everybody. Let us know where you're from, what you're working on, etc., etc. And then if you scroll down to rewrite rooms, here we have the 100-day writing challenge. Okay, so how will this work? So from tomorrow, you will be able to from tomorrow, you will be able to use the tracker slash the prompts. Oh my God, it's that person who's been elected just on my mind. Okay, so this is a tracker slash prompts, right? So if you are working on a specific project, this might not be so relevant to you, the prompts. But if you are not, and if you're kind of just wanting to get back into writing, or even if you are working on a specific project, but you're maybe stuck or you're thinking of different ideas, every time you click on this session here, excuse me, you have a prompt for the day, right? So you will, if you're waking up at 6 a.m. and writing for 15 minutes every day, that will kind of be your pre-writing. You already have the prompts already there, yeah? So you want to go into the tracker, into your prompts, click on the session, on the lesson, and then once the lesson is done, you can click next lesson, which will let you know that you've completed that lesson, and it will also unlock the next day. So you've got the days here. You've got day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, so you can see where you're at and how many days you've completed. This will be revealed or unlocked tomorrow. So tomorrow, when the challenge officially begins, this will all be unlocked, and then you can only unlock the one session once you've completed one lesson. So once you've done day 1, you have to put down that you've completed day 1, which will then unlock day 2. So if you're trying to get into day 3 or day 4 and it hasn't been, and you can't get into it, it's because it hasn't been unlocked yet because you've not completed the previous day. So the way that it will work is that every month we will have a specific theme. So for month 1, our theme will be getting started and building characters. So all of the prompts for month 1 will be around getting started. So we have some, different prompts for writing, but everything will be around your characters. Some things might be around your character journeys, your character arc. It might be around your secondary characters, your main character, etc., etc. But everything for month 1 will be built around characters. And then month 2, we will have a different theme. So it might be something like plot, it might be something like dialogue, it might be something like, emotions for characters, etc., etc. But there will be a sort of theme for every single month, right? At the end of the tracker, there's also an emoji. So once you've completed every day, you will head over to the chat and there will be a specific emoji for that month. So I think they're like fire emojis, heart emojis, etc. And once you've completed, you just go into the chat and you drop in the emoji, and that kind of lets everybody know that you've completed. If you are kind of struggling for that day, or you haven't had a good writing session, or you've had an excellent writing session, you can go ahead and put that in the chat as well. You can share your feedback, share your work, sorry. If you've done, for example, one of the prompts for the day, you can share that in the chat as well. So this is where everything will live. So you have your trackers here and you have your chat here. This is where you can communicate with others. And then our live check-ins, the next one, so we'll have it every Tuesday. I will try and have it every Tuesday depending on scheduling, etc. And what we'll do is every Tuesday we'll get together and we'll do a kind of very quick 20-minute, how was your writing week? What worked? What didn't work? Are you going to change anything? Are you going to continue what you're doing? And then we will also leave maybe like 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes at the end. If you haven't had any time to write for that day, then that will be your writing time for that day as well. Yeah. So everything will live in here. You have your feed here, you have your members to see who else is doing the challenge. So we've got 90 members doing this challenge at the moment. And then you have your tracker here, as I said, a live check-in. So all of our Tuesday check-ins will be here. There will be a new Zoom for that as well. And then your chat is there. And then the other thing that I wanted to mention, so if you've used Mighty Network before, tomorrow we're having our Wednesday write-in. So that's 7 p.m. again, UK time. And you can use that for your writing time as well. So if you've got, I think Catherine maybe had a 7 p.m. or an evening writing time. So that's again an opportunity for you to come in and use that for your writing. And then we also have the quiet writing room, which is one of my favorite spots. So if you are doing a 6 a.m. session, for example, you can come in here and log in, and this is just quiet time. There's no, sometimes there's people in there. If you want company whilst you're writing, you can also drop in the chat that you're going to be in the library, the quiet room, at X time, so other people can join you. So you're 15 minutes in the morning. You don't even have to do it by yourself, but you can literally come in on Zoom and you're kind of doing it in this space. So it kind of feels like you're in a real library. Yeah. And then we also have the 24-hour Zoom room, which is kind of like the quiet room, except we do this in community. So this is if you want to chat, if you want to be writing with a bigger group, you will do kind of like a meetup here. Maybe 2 or 3 of you guys can go in and you can chat, etc., whilst you're writing. But the library, the quiet room, is literally just like going into a physical library, sitting down in your space and getting it done. So these are, again, like tools that can help you on your writing journey just to make it easier. I think like the more things that you have disposable, to make sure that you don't fail, the better. So I'm just going to stop there and then I'm going to take questions. So let me stop the recording.